Please welcome our host, Helga Nowotny, President of the European Research Council.
On the 9th of November 1989, I was supposed to be in Berlin for a conference of the Yearbook of the Sociology of Science, which I missed since my mother had to be brought to hospital in Vienna.
Good morning, everyone. I have the honor to be back. Last year I was invited for the first time and I was able to present 4 ERC grantees. I'm pleased to see that there are this year ERC grantees both on the stage and in the auditorium, and many potential ERC grantees in the auditorium. It is a great honor to be back, and I will present in a few minutes the wonderful and fantastic group of speakers for this second session. But let me briefly ask you to pause and reflect on one question. What is behind the brilliant minds that you have been able and will be able to hear today? There are different ways of answering this question. We can go back and take the grand look history of science that started in the 17th century in Europe in various places, standing on the shoulders of giants, and we can take a look into the future. We heard this morning of computational simulation sciences being the science of the 21st century, etc. We can reflect on the realization that today we realize that we live in a world that is largely of our own making and what we make of it. But we can also take the individual route and we can ask the brilliant minds, when did you first become interested in science? Was it a teacher? Was it a parent that was putting you in contact with this wonderful scientific endeavor that Anne Glover spoke about yesterday? And then, if we follow this path, we very soon come to the question of what is the right cultural cultivating environment that a brilliant mind needs. And we come to the question of institutions. These young scientists, they get their PhDs in different places of the world. They are very mobile. They go to places where they find the best working conditions. And this brings us to the level of competition and cooperation between universities, research institutes in different parts, not only of Europe, but now the science has reached a global dimension in different parts of the world. And taking this route, moving from individual excellence to institutional excellence and what is driving it, we are also facing the question, what do our governments do in order to keep on investing in science, in research, in innovation? And this is something that is of great concern for many of us today because, as you know, the negotiations for the next Horizon 2020 budget in Europe is an ongoing process. And I think an occasion like this is also the time to reflect and to act, to convince governments that it is important to keep on investing in our future. So now I turn to the wonderful group of 5 people whom you will hear. I was thinking what is common to what you will hear. At first sight, as you will see, the topics are very different. It goes from something called Funkfeuer, free net, to breaking the wall of sensory overload, etc. But I think I have found one answer to what unites you and what you have in common. You are speaking about topics that each of us in the audience can directly relate to. To begin with Aaron Kaplan, he comes from Vienna and Graz, I think, in Austria, and he is the founder of Funkfeuer Free Net, And if I understand correctly, Aaron, you got the idea, and this happens very often in science, not what you aimed for to get, but on your road you discovered there's a fantastic new opportunity. You were looking at, from a security point of view, how can you make the internet, by decentralizing it, more secure? And then you discovered there's a world out there, and there are people on Tahrir Square and in other places where the political leaders decide to interrupt the internet, so to enable communication between people. And you thought, well, this is something that you can work on. In the program, you would be followed by Michael Brutter, and he would speak, but he will speak this afternoon. He will speak about breaking the wall of the polling booth, very topical US election topic, if I may say, and what kinds of emotions and cognitive processes go on when people make their sign in a polling booth. He has been caught by bad weather in the US, so he's only able to reach us this afternoon. But this gives me the opportunity to welcome the second woman on my panel, and Rachel McDermott kindly has agreed to step in. She comes from MIT and she works at the Max Planck Institute in Garching on fusion research, and she will speak to us about tokamak. Now, many of you would say, well, I've never heard of what this is, but you have heard of Energiewende, everyone in Germany, and my prediction is that the word Energiewende will enter the English language just like kindergarten and Rucksack. So you will listen to her. Monique Bretela comes from the Netherlands, but since 1 year, if I'm correct, she works at the German Center for Neurodegenerative Diseases. She works on Alzheimer and related neurodegenerative disorders and diseases, and works with large data and lifetime observations and statistics. Stefan Treue comes from the University of Göttingen, the Leibniz Institute for Primate Research, and he's working with something related to humans very closely, macaque, monkeys, these very cute little animals. And he's studying perception and vision with them, of course, with the intention, how can you transfer or use, or which differences or commonality can you detect when you make experiments with macaque, and what does it tell us about our own attention and perception and attention spans. Per Möller, I still have to mention him, last but not least, University of Copenhagen, breaking the wall about taste, and you will hear everything from him. Thank you.